So today in lesson dual nature of light, we are going to discuss the wave nature of matter. As we know that electromagnetic radiations have dual nature, when an electromagnetic radiation like light or any other electromagnetic radiation interacts with matter or any metal, it behaves like particle, and otherwise EM radiation behaves like wave. So Louis Victor de Broglie thought that our nature is very symmetrical and it has two basic entities, matter and energy. And if energy is showing dual characteristics, wave characteristics as well as particle characteristics, so should matter also. Matter should also show particle characteristics as well as wave characteristics. And therefore, thinking that, Louis Victor de Broglie put forward a very bold hypothesis regarding the wave nature of matter. In 1924, according to de Broglie wave nature of matter, when any particle is in motion, then it should show wave characteristics. And the wavelength of the matter wave can be written in terms of momentum of the particle. In this way, if lambda is wavelength of matter wave, then it should be equal to h by p, where h is a constant called Planck's constant, and it is equal to 6.62 nearly into 10 to the power minus 34 joules second. So in this equation, on the left hand side, you will find wave attribute, wave characteristics. Wavelength is a wave characteristics. And on the right hand side, you have momentum and you have mass. And mass is a particle attribute. Mass is related with particle. So this is how de Broglie related the wavelength of matter wave to that of mass of the particle. But in general situation, in macroscopic world, we have never seen any kind of wave associated with a moving object. A car is moving. Have you ever seen any wave associated with that car? No. A person is moving, a ball is moving, and wave cannot be seen. So let us first of all find the wavelength of the matter wave associated with a small object like a ball. Let the mass of the ball is 100 gram. I have taken the mass as a product of 10 so that the calculation may be easy. And the velocity is 10 meters per second. So from here you can find the momentum of the ball, which is equal to mv, product of mass and velocity, and that is equal to 1000 gram meter per second, means 1 kg meter per second. So this is your momentum of the moving ball. And from de Broglie formula, putting this value in de Broglie formula, you can find the wavelength associated with matter wave. This is equal to your Planck's constant divided by momentum. And you will find that wavelength associated with this ball comes equal to 6.62 into 10 to the power minus 34 meter. This is a very small size. If you compare this size with that of even nucleus of an atom, which happen to be 10 to the power minus 15 meter, then the size is nearly 10 to the power 20 times smaller than the size of a nucleus event. You can find it by dividing the size of nucleus by the size of wavelength, and by calculations we find that the size of wavelength is very small and it is equal to size of nucleus into 6.62 divided by 10 to the power 20. So this suggests that if there is matter wave associated with any matter, even a small matter, that is a small ball, playing ball, then the size of this wavelength is 10 to the power 20 times smaller than the size of a nucleus event. So when we cannot see a nucleus, then how can we see the wavelength of this wave? So it is impossible to see such waves. These waves are very small. You can see from here. You can see from here when mass is large, which is in denominator, then wavelength should be small. So as mass goes on increasing in size, if mass is large, wavelength will become negligible. So now let us take the example of an electron. What is the wavelength of matter wave associated with an electron? Electron is a very small mass, you know. So maybe the size of its wavelength be comparatively can be calculated. So we know that potential is work done per unit charge. If charge on electron is E, then you can find work done in terms of potential and E. Work done in accelerating an electron is equal to EV. And we know that energy is capacity to do work. So energy associated with moving electron is equal to EV, where V is potential. So we obtained one equation in this way. Now let us go another way. So as electron is moving, so it will be having some kinetic energy. And we know that kinetic energy is equal to half mv square. Now multiply and divide the right hand side of this equation by mass. And you will get Ke is equal to, kinetic energy is equal to mv whole square, momentum whole square divided by 2m. So from here you can find a relationship between kinetic energy and momentum. Kinetic energy of moving electron comes equal to square of momentum divided by 2m. This is your second equation. So now when you compare the two equations of kinetic energy, EV, one equation, and this is your P square by 2m. On comparing, you can find the value of momentum in terms of potential. P comes equal to under root 2m EV. Now, using the de Broglie equation, we know that lambda is equal to h by p, wavelength is equal to Planck's constant divided by momentum. So from here you can find wavelength of a moving electron. So wavelength of a moving electron comes equal to Planck's constant divided by root under 2 into mass of electron into charge on electron into potential applied to accelerate the electron, to move the electron. Now if you put the value of all the constants in the right hand side of this equation, like mass is equal to 9.1 into 10 to the power minus 31 kg, Planck's constant we already know, and putting the value of charge, that is 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. Then wavelength associated with this matter wave, lambda e, wavelength associated with this electron can be calculated. So when you find the value of all these after calculation, it will come equal to 1.227 divided by root under potential applied in nanometer. So wavelength of a moving electron can be correlated with the potential applied. So wavelength of a moving electron will change corresponding to the change of potential applied. If you apply a potential 220 volt, then accordingly you will have the wavelength of this moving electron. If you apply a different potential, 100 volt, then you will have a different wavelength. So here I have taken one potential difference. V is equal to 120 volt, and then I obtain wavelength associated with this moving electron. It comes equal to 0.112 nanometer, and this is equal to 1.12 into 10 to the power minus 10 meter. So this is the wavelength of moving electron. This is wavelength of matter wave associated with moving electron, given by Louis Victor de Broglie. Now this was further investigated and proved true by Bragg and Bragg's law. So here see the order of this matter wave. The order is of 10 to the power minus 10 meter. So Bragg chose one of the EM radiations which having wavelength of the same order. X-ray. X-ray is of the same order, 10 to the power minus 10. And taking X-ray, he diffracted and he interfered two X-rays through a metal surface. You know that any diffraction or interference can take place when the size of obstacle or size of hole is comparative to size of the wavelength of EM radiation. Now he could not take any other ordinary object, any other ordinary hole or obstacle, because this size is very small. The size of this matter wave is of the order of 10 to the power minus 10 meter. And this is the size of an atom. Atom has size of the order of 10 to the power minus 10 meter. So he selected a metal. Now metal is made out of crystals, and crystals have their two surfaces at a distance of this order, 10 to the power minus 10 meter. So now when X-ray is diffracted or interfered through this metal surface, which has the two surfaces at a distance of 10 to the power minus 10 meter, then it will undergo interference or diffraction. So here you can see there are atoms present at a distance of 10 to the power minus 10 meter. Here you have metal, and on this metal two X-rays are incident, and one X-ray is reflected from the upper surface itself, and the other X-ray goes to lower surface, which is at a distance of the order of 10 to the power minus 10 meter, and then from here it is reflected. So now the two reflected waves, they can interfere if the rays are coming from coherent sources. They will interfere, and the interference pattern will be giving maxima if the path difference between the two reflected ray is of the order of n lambda. We have learned interference. We know that there will be constructive interference if path difference del x is equal to n lambda. So you have to reflected waves, they will interfere and they will produce maxima if the path difference is n lambda. So first of all, we will be finding path difference. Up to here the waves are having same length, same path, and from here the path changed. This is the extra path and this is the path difference. So path difference you will find is equal to AB plus BC. Path difference is AB plus BC. Now we will calculate AB and BC. So in this triangle you can see, here you have incident ray and it is making an angle theta with the surface. Now this ray is perpendicular to the incident ray and this downward perpendicular is perpendicular to the surface itself. So the angle made in between the surface and incident ray must be same as angle between their perpendiculars. Here we have theta angle and from here you can find sine theta. So sine theta is equal to perpendicular means AB upon hypotenuse, it is given by D, distance between the two surfaces which we know it is of the order of 10 to the power minus 10 meter. So from here you can calculate AB. AB is equal to D sine theta and similarly BC is equal to D sine theta. So the path difference, by putting these values, comes equal to 2D sine theta. Now for maxima, for constructive interference, n lambda should be equal to 2D sine theta. If you put value of n equal to 1, for n is equal to 1, here it becomes 1 into lambda, so lambda is equal to 2D sine theta. And if you put the value of D of the order of 10 to the power minus 10, so wavelength comes of the order of 10 to the power minus 10. So from using Bragg's law also, you can verify de Broglie equation, de Broglie matter wavelength. Next topic is Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. As we know in classical mechanics, if you have been given the initial position of an object or any particle and its velocity, then we can find its position after any duration of time. But in case of small particles like electron or proton, we cannot use the concept of classical mechanics. In relativistic mechanics too, we cannot use the concept of classical mechanics. So for small particles, we are to use quantum mechanics. So let me explain you one diagram so that you could understand this thing. Here you have a transparent medium which is separated by a surface, and on this surface an EM radiation is incident, so that a part of the EM radiation is refracted inside and a part is reflected in the same medium. Now, as we have discussed, that when EM radiation interact with any matter, then it behaves like quanta of energy. So here, the incident radiation is in the form of quanta of radiation, packet of energies. So when the packet of energies are incident on this surface, some of the quanta goes into this second medium and some quanta is reflected in the same medium. Now, if a particular quanta is taken by you, so you are unable to say what is the position of this quanta after the event of this bombardment of quanta on the surface. The quanta may be reflected, you don't know it has reflected or not, and quanta may be refracted too. So here, classical mechanics does not say anything about its further position of the quanta. And 80% of the incident ray is refracted. So you can say that there is 80% probability that quanta will be in the second medium. And 20% of the incident radiation is reflected. So you can say that 20% probability is there that the quanta will be reflected. So you can say about probability only about the new position of the quanta. And also you know that momentum is equal to h nu by c. Now when light goes in second medium, the velocity changes and so there is change in momentum. Now the new momentum in this second medium will be h nu by v. But if that quanta is reflected in the same medium, then its momentum will be h nu by c only. So you can find that there is uncertainty in final momentum and in final position also. There is uncertainties. Bond gave theory of probability uncertainty of the position of photon, and he said that the uncertainty in position of photon will be infinity if the uncertainty in momentum of the photon is 0. So when del P is equal to 0, then according to Bond, del X will be equal to infinity. So this can be seen from this diagram. When momentum is constant, and then you will find that uncertainty in momentum becomes equal to 0 when momentum is constant. And when momentum is constant, then wavelength also is constant. You have wave with constant wavelength. This wavelength is constant, this wavelength is constant, and wavelength of all small wave is constant, and this wave goes up to infinity along the two sides. So what will be the position of a photon in this complete wave? Photon can be anywhere here, it can be at this place, anywhere up to infinity. So it is justified that photon has infinite uncertainty position. So from here you can consider that the uncertainty in position of photon is infinite when uncertainty in momentum of the photon is 0. Now you can consider how the probability affects the uncertainties of position and momentum. So suppose one example of one incident of throwing a dice. So there can be chance of coming 6, coming 5, coming 4, 3, 2, 1, any digit on the top. And the probability of coming one digit is 1 by 6 of the event. So you can write that probability of coming one number on the top is 1 by 6. So now if event takes place and one number comes, so now suppose you have come 3 and you obtained the event. So the pure state is 3 that you have obtained, and in the previous case the probability of obtaining this 3 was only 1 by 6. Now when the incident takes place, you can see the total thing is changed from probability 1 by 6. Now it has probability 1. So after experiment, whole the state is changed from mixed state into pure state. So you can say that an experiment changes the state. An experiment, let me take one page. An experiment changes the state. And this is why also if you measure any position and at the same time momentum cannot be measured accurately. At the same instant, position and momentum cannot be measured accurately. And thus Heisenberg uncertainty principle, your del x into del h should always be, the product should always be greater than or equal to h cross by 2, and this is same as h divided by 4 pi, because as h cross is equal to h upon 2 pi.